Good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome to Build Your Best Life with Coach Deborah D. Smith. I am super excited to have you here today. I hope that you all had a blessed and safe Thanksgiving. You had pleasant travels. You were able to get with family and just really enjoyed yourselves. Well, thank you so much for tuning in today. Well, my theme for this month is finance with a twist. However, today we are going to deviate from that theme a little bit. I have a very special guest on today, and I'm very excited to introduce her to you. So I'm going to bring her on. Hi, Elizabeth. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. If I stop covering you up, I am doing wonderful. Well, as I stated, we're going to do something a little bit different today. I know you're going to enjoy it. This is a wonderful testament, but Elizabeth is going to share with us the Elizabeth McCoy story. Elizabeth is an overcomer and a fighter. Her purpose is to inspire, provide hope, and encourage others. Elizabeth's dream and goals abruptly stopped in a quick moment. Find out how she persevered and is an example for others. And she's going to tell you a little bit more about herself, but take it away, Elizabeth. Thank you so much for being on.
Thank you so much for having me on this evening. So, I was born and raised in a small town in southeast Kansas. There was a whole lot of nothing around, a lot of farms, a lot of ranches, crops, out in the middle of nowhere. I was very much an outdoorsy girl, very popular. I was a singer, I was a songwriter, very talented. In fact, I was singing before I was even saying words as a toddler. My life was headed for me making my dreams come true. I began taking voice lessons at the age of 7, and when I would be on the stage singing, people would hear me singing and not see that the voice was coming out of a child. And when they saw how young I was, they were absolutely amazed at the voice that was coming out of my mouth. They just couldn't believe it. My voice teacher had it all set up and arranged for me the spring of my 8th grade year to be in a recording studio cutting a demo tape. I had had professional pictures taken. I was very popular, very active in school. Everyone wanted to be my friend. Was moving forward to make my dreams come true, and as soon as I got out of high school, was planning on moving to Nashville to pursue my singing. Then, one week into my freshman year of high school, my whole life changed. My best friend and I were piling into the back of her mom's SUV. Her mom was going to take us to the movies. We were headed down a 2-lane highway in rural southeast Kansas when all of a sudden we were struck from behind. Once we were hit, it sent us into a tailspin, and then that tailspin proceeded to send us barrel rolling into the middle of a field on the opposite side of the highway. Every time that the car barrel rolled, my head was at the point of impact. My best friend was conscious. She had a slight concussion from her mom's bowling ball in the back of the vehicle. Her mom's seatbelt malfunctioned and she was thrown from the vehicle. So my friend crawled out of the vehicle to find her mom, found her mom laying in a ditch, was unsure if she was alive or dead. She was alive and survived and is living to this day. She went and flagged someone down on the highway to call 911. This was back before cell phones were, everyone had one anyway. She crawled back into the vehicle and realized that I was choking on blood and vomit in my airway. Angels were definitely watching over me that night because she actually had the forethought of needing to clear my airway so that I could breathe until the EMTs arrived. We were both 14, 1 week into our freshman year of high school. The EMTs arrived and they cut me from the vehicle. I had to be resuscitated multiple times to get me stable to transport to the rural hospital. They got me in the back of the ambulance and taken to the rural hospital. One of the highway patrolmen that night was a good family friend who actually recognized me in the back of the vehicle, and he called my dad immediately, saying that I had been injured in a car accident and that he was coming to meet my dad and my mom and for them to follow him to the hospital. He advised them, as you drive by the accident scene, do not look at the accident. My dad immediately called my brother. Him and my sister-in-law, they were getting ready to go out of town, or out for the night. It was Saturday. My brother was actually on the phone, so my dad had to call the operator to have a break in the line. And my dad told my brother that I was injured in a car accident and for them to immediately come to the hospital. And he advised them, just as he had been advised, when you drive by the accident scene, do not look. My brother and sister-in-law remember driving to the hospital that night, and they couldn't help but look at the accident scene. As they slowed down and drove by, they could not imagine anyone surviving the destruction that they saw. My parents and my brother and sister-in-law got to the hospital. They had me on the gurney. They were wheeling me to the helicopter because I was going to need to be life-flighted to the nearest trauma center that was actually an hour and a half away by car in Wichita. My mom remembers that I was covered in blood all over my face. My right eye was swollen shut. The nurse gave her my tooth. She remembers thinking how mad I was going to be that the brand new pair of Western jeans that I was wearing had to be cut off. Of course, that rural hospital didn't have any of the necessities to keep me alive, so they got me in a helicopter and I was life-flighted to Wesley in Wichita, Kansas. Once my family arrived at the trauma center, they were pulled back with the neurologists and nurses, and the neurologist basically gave them a very dim prognosis, saying that the first 48 to 72 hours would be very critical. And in the small chances that I survived to the 72-hour mark, survival would be better. I would have better chances of living at that point. But they made no promises. They had to place a pressure gauge in my skull so that the swelling in my brain could be monitored. They placed me in a drug-induced coma because they needed my body and my brain to be able to rest to increase the chances of my survival. This was so scary for my family. My mom, my brother, sister-in-law, they were calling all of our family from other states as well as from where we lived in southeast Kansas. Everyone was getting into the vehicle and making their way to the hospital to be with my family. 24 hours in, all of a sudden, the swelling in my brain began to spike. Doctors rushed me back for a CT scan. My brain was swelling at 7 times the normal pressure. All of my grandparents, my cousins, my aunts and uncles had gone back to the hotel because they had all been awake for over 24 hours at this point. So my mom and my brother began calling them because they needed to get back to the hospital because this was it. They knew that I likely would not survive. Doctors began changing the medication to try to figure out what would work best to bring that swelling down. That weekend, our family minister was out of town at a conference, so he was even further away than the hour and a half everyone else was. He couldn't make it to the hospital. But there was a Calvary Baptist minister that was actually on the pediatric ICU unit that night. So he learned of the situation and offered to pray with my family. We were calling ministers from back home. There was lots of praying going on. It was approximately 1 hour after this prayer session and all the praying at home, the swelling in my brain finally began to reduce. My mom remembers that when the Calvary Baptist minister was praying with them, she remembers feeling a weight being lifted off of her shoulders. And she knew in that moment that I was going to be okay and that I would survive. Prayer is the most powerful thing. Whatever difficulty or struggle that you're currently facing, I promise you that prayer can help. It's gotten me through so much. I'm living proof that prayer does work. I became more stable after 2 weeks, and the ventilator was able to be removed. They began reducing the drugs that they had me on, keeping me in the coma. My family was afraid. They had a little bit of fear. What was I going to be like when I came out of my coma? Would I be able to talk? Would I get back to being independent? What was I going to be like? Do you ever have fear? Fear of the unknown? Don't. Just trust. Trust in God. That can get you through so much. Last several years, I've learned actually what fear is. Fear is actually false evidence appearing real. So don't let fear stop you. Keep pushing, keep moving forward. It was 3 weeks being in the coma when I finally woke up. Now I had trauma to my right eye, so it was my left eye that opened only. My dad actually remembers that he was watching a hunting or fishing show at the time, and he was thinking, wow, if Beth actually knew what I was watching on TV, she would tell me to change the channel or turn it off because she hated watching these hunting and fishing shows. And then he looks over to see my left eye open. I couldn't speak, so I answered questions by squeezing my right hand or blinking my left eye. I had a long road ahead of me, and it was going to be an uphill climb all the way. And at this point, I didn't really know what had happened to me. but I had no idea the difficulty that lay ahead. I still fatigued very, very quickly. They got me up in a chair for 30 minutes, then got me back to bed. I slept the rest of the day. On September 19th, I stood for the first time in 24 days. Of course, this was a therapist holding me up on both sides. I had no idea that on August 26th, when I independently got into that SUV, that I would not be getting out independently and that it would be 24 days before my feet would touch the floor. How much do we all take for granted? Being able to walk to the refrigerator to get a glass of milk, or walk out to the mailbox to pick up your mail. Whatever it is you're struggling with, you can get through it. At this point, I had no idea that the most difficult struggles that I would ever face would come about over the next 4 to 6 years of my life. I believe that we all have a purpose, and there is a much greater plan for each and every one of you. My purpose is to be here tonight, right now, in this moment, talking to you, to help bring you hope and encourage you to keep going through whatever it is you're facing. You can do it. That 4th week after I came out of my coma, they took me to the parallel bars where I was able to take 3 steps. Of course, I had a wheelchair right behind me and had therapists helping to hold me up and support me because I was still very, very weak, having not been out of the bed for 3 weeks. On September 27th, just 1 month after that fateful night, I was going to be transferred to an inpatient rehab unit. This would be a 3-hour ride by ambulance from Wichita, Kansas to Kansas City, Missouri. This ride was tough. I was very emotional. It was difficult. I don't know if any of you have ever ridden in the back of an ambulance. I was very, very emotional. It was difficult to get me to calm down once I made it to Children's Mercy in Kansas City. At this point, I still really had no idea how different my life was actually going to be. I was trying to focus on getting back to being able to take care of myself again, as I had to rely on someone else for absolutely everything. On September 28th, I made some gains. I was actually able to get into the shower for the first time. And I washed my hair using only my right hand, but I washed my hair almost all by myself. I also was able to take 3 steps with a rolling walker that day. Of course, again, I had a therapist holding on to me in the event that I fell. I had another therapist or a tech behind me pushing the wheelchair in case I needed to sit immediately. One of the big things that gets me through the challenging days when it seems like nothing is going right is focusing on the positives. I encourage you, when you are facing difficult days, focus on the positives of each day. Before you go to bed every night, think of 3 positives from that day. They may be small in the beginning, and that you may struggle to think of 3 positives. But I promise you, as long as you can focus on the positive, each and every day, that those positive aspects are going to grow, and they're going to become even more. Now, with this situation, my positives would be I was able to wash my own hair. I was able to take 3 steps with a rolling walker, and I didn't go crashing to the floor. I was still unable to speak. I was answering questions by blinking and squeezing my hand, making my needs known by writing on a whiteboard. Can you even imagine? My voice was so important and was all of who I was prior to that night. And now I can't even talk. My parents were afraid that I would never speak again. They actually had them do a scope on my vocal cords to make sure that they weren't damaged from the ventilator, because my voice was everything that I was. I needed a lot of rest and sleep to continue to recover. I just fatigued so quickly, especially with the therapy. Any of the getting out of bed or sitting up in the wheelchair just drained me completely. Quiet was key. If I needed to sleep, needed to take a nap, I needed everyone out of my room. I had a feeding tube that would run continuously at night, and that machine was so doggone noisy. I wasn't sleeping at night very well at all. That was difficult for me. On October 8th, my mom entered my room and I actually said good morning and I love you for the first time. For the first time in 43 days, I actually spoke. Can you imagine? My voice was so precious to me. It was all of who I was. And then something unexpected occurred that left me unable to speak for 43 days. Have you ever been hit with the unexpected? How did you handle it? This was the most difficult thing that I had to deal with because my voice was all of me. It was still very, very weak, not much more than a whisper. Would cut in and out and couldn't even speak a full sentence. And it was going to be months before it was strong enough again for me to say a full sentence clearly, where people didn't have to come over and put their ear down to try to hear me. Deuteronomy 31 verse 6 says, "Be strong and courageous. Do not fear or be in dread of them, for it is the Lord your God who goes with you. He will not leave you or forsake you." It's during these times of difficulty that it is so important for you to remember whose child you are. This could have easily stopped me, but it didn't. I had people praying for me all over the world. Those prayers kept me going. God never left my side. Isaiah 40 verse 31 says, But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint. In these times when all you want to do is give up, ask God to be your strength. Ask for wisdom. Ask for clarity. Ask Him to give you the knowledge you need to make the decisions that you're struggling with. That's what I've been able to do, and that's what's gotten me to where I am today. Without God's constant presence in my life, I would not be here. It's His purpose for my life. That's why I'm sharing my story with you tonight. Never stop believing in yourself. You can do this. I believe in you. On October 13th, after being in inpatient rehab for 2.5 weeks, I was ready for discharge. I was excited because it was a Friday, and I was actually going to be discharged in time to go home and take a nap and be able to make it to the high school football game. The first high school football game of being actually in high school my freshman year. Now, I was still so very weak. My parents had to rent a wheelchair and a walker because I couldn't safely walk for any long distance. This wasn't going to be the end of my rehabilitation in the Kansas City area. We would only be home for 2 nights, and then Mom and I would turn around on Sunday afternoon and go back to Kansas City to start a day program that I would do for the next 6 weeks to work on my strength, to work on regaining my balance so that I could actually come home and be safe going back to school. This was going to be the first night home in my own bed in 49 days. I prayed that I was going to be able to get a good night's sleep. Mom and I turned around and went back to Kansas City to start that day program. We would live in the Ronald McDonald House Monday through Friday every week, coming home on the weekends. My struggles weren't over. The first of which was the evaluating physical therapist at this day program. She wasn't the most compassionate, didn't have any kind of empathy, and frankly, I don't think she should have been working with children. Every time she would speak to me, I would think, what did I do wrong to make her mad at me? I was very blessed, though, that I only had to work with her 2 or 3 times, and then my care was transferred to a physical therapist assistant named Craig. He was great. He would tell jokes, he would make me laugh, and he made it a little bit easier to get through the therapy, made it more fun. I'm sure many of you have heard the expression, laughter is the best medicine. I'm very blessed that my dad had a great sense of humor, as did my mom and me. That's the way I was raised. So even on those difficult days, people in my life could get me laughing, and that just would help me through the difficult times. One Sunday morning, early afternoon Sunday, we were headed back to Kansas City, and we were a couple blocks away from the Ronald McDonald House, listening to country music, just focusing on getting there, getting ready for the week. We had turned on the road where the Ronald McDonald House was. There was cars parked on both sides. Then suddenly, out of nowhere, bam! A young man lands in the windshield right in front of me. Turns out he was a skateboarder who had the bright idea to be jumping parked cars. We had just turned onto this road, so we didn't see him jumping parked cars, and obviously he didn't look before he decided to jump the parked car that he jumped to see that there was a car coming. This was so scary for me. My mom was really shaken. I was absolutely distraught and hysterical. Can you blame me? Just weeks prior, I had been severely injured in a car accident that I had absolutely no memory of. At this point, I'm still trying to get my bearings and trying to figure out my life since this injury and this accident, figuring out who I am. And now I'm dealing with a young man landing in the windshield right in front of me. It was difficult for me to get calmed down with this situation. We got to the Ronald McDonald house. Luckily, the skateboarder walked away. He was not injured. We got to the Ronald McDonald house, and I went to bed early. I didn't even eat dinner that night. Can you think back to a time that you've been hit with something unexpected? Some unexpected scary circumstance? How did you handle it? What I've learned through all of the unexpected and scary circumstances, I just gotta continue walking in faith and trust and know that I can't let these circumstances stop me. And I gotta continue to try to stay positive. Psalms 91:11 says, "For he will order his angels to protect you wherever you go." You have to believe this with all your heart and never forget it. And trying to remain positive, that is absolutely key. So many times over the years, I would ask why? Why me? Dwelling on the negative. But I always knew that that I had to keep going, that I couldn't stop. I had to keep my hope. I had to stay positive. And I was able to rely on the Lord to be my strength. Philippians 4:19 says, "And my God will meet all your needs according to the riches of his glory in Christ Jesus." Know that in your heart, he cares for you. He only wants what's best for you. He is always going to provide everything that you ever will need, but you have to trust and know that he's always going to be there to protect you. Walk by faith and not by sight. He will order his angels to protect you wherever you go. That's exactly what he's done for me. If he's done it for me, he's going to do it for you too. I promise you this. Keep the hope and know that even during these unexpected challenges, they're just going to serve to make you stronger. Know that you can get through these challenges because I have. If I've done it, you can do it. I was discharged right before Thanksgiving from this day program after 6 weeks. Now it was ready for me to get back into school. At this point, I still had no idea that this was going to be the most challenging of everything that I've faced to this point. I was going to start school half days because I still fatigued very quickly. I was still having to go to outpatient therapy every day of the week. physical therapy Monday, Wednesday, Friday, occupational therapy Tuesday and Thursday. And of course, I couldn't drive, so I had to rely on my brother and my grandma to pick me up from school and get me to my therapy appointments. But the most difficult part of all of this was that my friends' lives had gone on and mine had just stopped. I couldn't even dress the way I used to. I still had a feeding tube in my stomach because the rehab doctor refused to remove it. She wanted to make sure that I would continue eating before she removed that feeding tube. My right eye was shut because I hadn't had my first surgery due to the trauma. My left arm was pulled up like this due to muscle tone, which is why I was going to occupational therapy twice a week. My head was still partially shaved from where the pressure gauge was inserted for just over 2 weeks. I was no longer that beautiful, independent, talented girl that I once was. Can you relate? Are you ever dealt with devastating things in your life that you feel that you just can't get through? That's what this was for me. I was alone. I was isolated. My friends didn't care if I was around. Schoolwork took so much more of an effort for me. I worked with tutors to help me with my algebra twice a week after school. Every weekend was spent working on homework. My friends were still working their part-time jobs, playing the sports they loved, going out on the weekends. They didn't have any time for me in their lives. I felt so overwhelmed, so alone. I knew that it would have been better if I died that night. Everything would be easier for everyone if I hadn't survived. Do you ever feel that way? Like if you weren't around, you wouldn't be missed and everything would be better for everyone? Well, that's not the case. And that's why I'm sitting right here today sharing this with you. When I would think these thoughts, I wasn't thinking about my parents. I wasn't thinking about my brother, my sister-in-law, all my loved ones. Life wouldn't be better without you in it. What got me through was a voice in my heart saying, I have a plan for you. Keep going. You can't give up. Now, I didn't always hear that voice, but when I did, I remembered exactly how I felt in that moment, and I never forgot. We all have a purpose. 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 13, Paul says, God is faithful, and he will not let you be tested beyond your strength. But with your testing, he will also provide the way out so that you may be able to endure it. He's not ever going to leave your side. What I've learned in order to get through these difficult times is that I needed to turn to him and ask him for the help, for the strength to get through. That's all he wants, is for you to turn to him. So every night, no matter what had happened during the day, it happened multiple times a week. I would come home from school saying, I should have died. It would be better if I was dead. But no matter what, every night before I went to bed with a thankful and grateful heart. And I would pray a prayer that went like this. Thank you, Lord, for my life. Thank you for the blessings that you continue to bless me with. Please forgive me of my sins. And please lead me. Help me to make the right choices so I can help those that you place in my path. And I also prayed for everyone in the world, because what I was going through, I would not have wished on a single soul. None of us are perfect. He knows that. He just asks that we turn to him, ask for forgiveness, and then forget it. Tomorrow is a new day to begin again, to do better than you did yesterday. Leave your struggles, leave your worries. If you think you messed up, leave it with him and ask him to help you to go forward and do better tomorrow. I promise you, he's always going to be by your side as long as you continue to faithfully turn to him. He will always be faithful to you. Psalms 50 verse 15 says, "And call upon me in the day of trouble. I will deliver you, and you shall glorify me." Whatever it is that you are dealing with that may seem too hard for you to get through, you can get through it. Just don't give up. Matthew 19 verse 26, Jesus said, "With man this is impossible, but with God all things are possible." These trials are only going to serve to help make you stronger, to help make you better face struggles that you'll continue to have, so that you can continue to overcome the difficulties that you're going to face each and every day. I continue to face difficulties each day. They haven't gone away. But that just helps me to know that I am on the right path, and if I continue turning to God, he's going to give me the strength to keep going, and I'm going to better be able to help those he places in my path. The people that watch my episodes, watch my messages each week, I'm going to better be able to help you from what I learn. Nothing is impossible for God, and he will never fail you. He hasn't ever failed me. He will make a way where there is no way. And as long as you have him by your side, you can change that impossible to I'm possible. Keep walking in faith and trust through every door that opens. Believe in yourself. Begin each day believing and knowing that you have everything that you need to make all of your dreams come true and accomplish all of your goals deep inside of you. But you're going to have to dig deep and go after those dreams and goals. Don't ever forget that you have what it takes inside of you. You cannot give up. Keep going. Ask for help. I promise you that he's going to place the angels that you need to help you to get through whatever struggle it is you're struggling with at the exact time you need him. That's exactly what he's done for me. That's why you are here now watching this. You need to know that someone has been through what you are currently struggling with and has made it through, has overcome. You can do this. Be confident, be bold, and never lose hope. Stay determined and never stop asking the Lord to be your strength. As I know from experience, it doesn't matter what others say. If it's in your heart and part of your purpose, you can make it happen. And God will make a way where there is no way. But you have to believe. He is able to do immeasurably more than all we ask or imagine. Believe that, know that, and never forget it. I'm rooting for you to win. Each day is a new day to face your challenges and do better than yesterday. Never live in the past, but always look toward the future. Don't let your challenges define you. Instead, let them drive you toward your dreams. I believe in you and ask that you wholeheartedly believe in yourself. I never let the naysayers stop me. If I had, I wouldn't be speaking to you today. I have a purpose to help you to get through, and you have a purpose too, to not stop and just keep pushing so that you can learn to overcome. Repeat after me. I am a survivor. I am a fighter, and I won't stop. Thank you.
Thank you, Beth. Elizabeth, thank you so much. Why are you small? There you go. Thank you so much. That was an amazing, amazing story, and it just it's I've just been talking about over the past, I know, month and a half, how we take this time of the year and we talk about what we can be grateful for, what we should be grateful for, but we should be grateful for things every single day. And we complain about we can't do this and we can't do that. It's too hard to do a sit up. It's too hard to walk to the corner. Hey,
Yeah,
our testament is not hard. You don't give up, don't stop, just keep going. Because what if you had decided, I'm just going to lay here, I'm not going to do
right.
anything, I'm not going to do therapy? That mean lady, that was the devil getting in the way. You could have let her stop you, but you didn't let
Yeah.
anything stop you. And look where you are today. Such a blessing.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I love that not only have you endured, you had that faith, you had that hope, you are a fighter. And I know you said sometimes you thought it would have been better if you didn't make it, but deep down inside, you knew you had a purpose, and it was a reason why God saved you. You survived, and you're here doing that today. So you're not, we all have gifts and talents, but a lot of us try to keep them ourselves. But you have a gift because you are inspired, you are a fighter, you have hope, and you want to help others. You're sharing it with other people. And that in itself is so amazing, because we can get selfish with our gifts and talents, but you are not doing that. So I am just so happy, and I'm going to put your information up if you want to say anything else about it.
Yes. Please, if you found value in this, follow me on Facebook. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, Elizabeth McCoy Inspires. This is actually just the beginning of my story. Each week, I go live on my Elizabeth McCoy Inspires Facebook, YouTube channel, Twitter, and share more of my story. If you have a group or an individual that would benefit from hearing me speak or me talking to them, get in touch with me at elizabethmccoyinspires@gmail.com or message me on Facebook. I would love to be able to help anybody that I can, because, like I said, I have a purpose, and God has opened the doors to get me here where I am today, so that I can help so many more people than I ever dreamed of.
It's awesome. Thank you so much. So make sure that you visit her Facebook and YouTube pages and tune in and listen to the updates, because I mean, you say you add a little bit each one of your segments. I mean, oh my goodness, I mean, just the information that you shared tonight was a lot. So I can only imagine it sounded like it was grueling, but you did it. You did it.
That I did. That I
Yeah.
did.
Yes. So I'm so happy to have been able to have you on and look forward to having you on next month. So we can talk about our topic on next month. So again, thank you so much for enduring and going through obstacles or whatever to be here tonight, uh, because you didn't have to. So I really appreciate that. And I thank everyone who tuned in. And please, please, please make sure that you share this with people, your friends, your family. And if you didn't see the entire video, please go back. It never comes down on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. So go back and view it and share it, please. I do look forward to seeing you on Thursday, which is a whole different month. And during December, our theme is Life is a Journey. Life is a Journey. And on Thursday, my topic is going to be plot, life, and navigate. Plot, life, and navigate. It's about you got to plan that life. So please join us Thursday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We greatly appreciate it. And again, we'll be on Saturday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Please make sure that you visit my website, which is www.buildyourbestlife.org. And before I say that, before I forget it, I did find out that many of you have not liked the Build Your Best Life page. And because you have not, although you are on and viewing the live, I cannot see your name or your comment. So if you've been on and I have not, been mentioning your name or welcoming you, that is why, because I don't see that. So make sure that you go on my Build Your Best Life Facebook page, not Deborah D. Smith, but Build Your Best Life, and like that page and subscribe to my Build Your Best Life YouTube page so that I can make sure to acknowledge you for coming on. Please visit my website, www.buildyourbestlife.org. You can read my blog that comes out each Monday. It's very, very helpful. My calendar of events that shows all the events that we have coming up. You can find out more about Build Your Best Life. Also, you can visit my web store where you can see the services that I offer, which is coaching, consultation, speaking, webinar speaking, and you can get an autographed copy of my book, Build Your Best Life. It's a great book. It is my niche is for young men. This book is for everybody, young men, parents, educators, leaders, ministers, coaches, mentors, anyone that wants to build their best life or assist someone else in building their best life. So you can get your autographed copy on my website. If you like the Kindle version instead, you can get it on Amazon.com. So again, thank you so much for tuning in. Elizabeth, did you think of anything else you need to say before we close out?
No, just thank you for coming on and joining tonight. And I hope you all have a blessed evening.
Thank you. So as you travel on your road to being your best, you will run into obstacles, distractions, pitfalls, and detours. Don't let any of those negative aspects of your journey stop you. Though they may slow you down, keep going to be a better you so that you can build your best life. And remember, building your best life is our business. That is not a slogan. It's our commitment. I love you. Be blessed, stay safe, and see you Thursday. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.